Thank you, thank you. It was really great to see you all last night. I hope you had a great time visiting the Tower of London.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. No, the European regional chapter, actually, we'd really like to thank SIOR headquarters in Washington for their support. All the staff have been super. Tom McCormick, I'm not sure if, yeah, round of applause, exactly, thank you, Fred. I was going to mention Tom McCormick, I'm not sure if he's in the room, but he merits a mention because he supported us from the beginning as well. I think he was one of the first guys to, get the international development moving for SIOR, and I know he's encouraged me to step up to get expansion on the European side, so thank you. And I know that the new executive is also thoroughly behind the further expansion of SIOR in Europe, so that's great. And Richard Hollander has been a long believer in such growth, so I'd like to hand over to Richard. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you, Matthew, and it's been a wonderful conference, and I'd like to thank everybody here for attending. The European chapter put a tremendous amount of work into making this event happen. They deserve a great deal of credit. Success has many fathers, but there is one person whose efforts go far beyond what is normally expected. Matthew Le Guen de Lacroix has not only been working full-time on this conference for the last 5 or 6 months, he even put his sisters to work on this conference. So I'd like a round of applause for the unbelievable effort that Matthew has put in. Matthew, stand up. Finally, I want to recognize and thank 3 of the many European members, chapter members, who have been instrumental in taking SIOR's presence from its embryonic stage to where it is now. In SIOR in the States, Tom McCormick and Mike Boyd were instrumental at the beginning, but in the European chapter there are 3 people, Lawrence McCabe, Patricia LaMarshall, and Frederick Schneider, who worked very hard to bring the chapter to where it is today. And I want to acknowledge their extraordinary efforts early on and to thank them. As we look forward to future events, there are some exciting conferences ahead of us in some great locations. We've got New York this October. We've got New Orleans and Chicago in 2017. And we have Boston and Denver in 2018. A lot of things to be excited about. At our fall conference in New York this October, we're going to continue to celebrate SIOR's 75th anniversary. Rudy Giuliani, who was the former mayor of New York City, is going to be a keynote speaker. Another keynote speaker is a guy named, I got to get his name right here, Eric Qualman. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, and he's the author of
right here at the Sheraton Times Square in Manhattan. New York City is home to more office space than any other city in the United States, by a factor of almost 2 to 1. The New York-New Jersey port is the second largest in the nation, and our industrial market is the third largest in the nation. New York City is the #1 destination for foreign investment in the U.S., and it's easily accessible from anywhere in the world. But we have more. We have souped up and supersized our SIOR conference with the addition of 6 new main stage superstar panel discussions with 24 of the industry's biggest name presidents and CEOs. Our conference will not only be the largest industrial and office commercial real estate conference in the city of New York this year, we will have more top brokers, developers, and investors than any other conference. These industry leaders, from leading REITs, investment management firms, technology companies, and brokerage houses, will examine our industry's past, present, and future from almost every angle. And when you leave this conference, you will have a greater perspective than ever on how to grow your business and serve your clients. We look forward to hosting you here in New York City this October.
Hey, how you doing? Johnny T here from Glove and Boots. You planning a trip to New York City? Well, you already know a local. Me, Johnny T. I'm here to give you the inside scoop, but let's get one thing straight, all right? You're a jerk. Hey, don't get me wrong. I want you to come experience my beautiful city, but you're a tourist. That means you're a jerk. Hey, buddy, don't take it personal, all right? When I go on vacation where you live, I become the jerk. Hey, look at me. I am in South Dakota. I'm gonna ask directions and take your picture and not go to work when you're trying to go to work. You see that? Jerk. Multiply that by 10. Welcome to New York City. Boom. You are at the airport. Get your bags. Go wait for a cab. Oh, who is this shady character? Some Mama Luke asking if you want to ride in his unmarked van. Would you do this in your hometown? No, don't do it here. Wait for your cab, dummy. Okay, we gotta move fast. You gotta walk as fast as you possibly can. Eat as fast as you possibly can. You wanna watch a 2-hour movie, you'll be done in 90 minutes. That's how we do things here. There's 2 speeds in New York, my friend. Move fast or get out of the way. You will want to take pictures of this beautiful city I call home. That's nice. But when you do it, get out of the way. If traffic is coming, get out of the way. If you are in any line and don't know what you want yet, get out of the way. If a homeless man is walking towards you screaming, get out of the way. Oh, and do everyone else a favor. Just stay in your hotel room between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. That's when everyone's trying to go home, and you're in the way. If you want the Hollywood New York experience, that being the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, and Times Square, yeah, go watch a frickin' Tom Hanks movie, all right? No New Yorker has ever done any of that crap. You want Hollywood, go to California. But if you want New York, come to Brooklyn. Take a trip to Queens. Check out the Bronx. Take the ferry to Staten Island. It's free, but do not get off in Staten Island. Seriously, that's where we put our garbage. We got the best food in New York City. Cuisine from every part of the place. Italian, French, Indian, Thai, Korean, Ethiopian, whatever. You want it, we got it. So why the hell would you go eat at Applebee's? Look, you come to New York, you see the same restaurant that's in your hometown, you don't go there. What's wrong with you? All right, let me put it this way. If you're starving, get yourself a dirty water dog. They cook them in toilet water, but it's a step up from the Olive Garden. Authentic Italian, my ass. Yo, remember before when I said you was a jerk? You are. And that's okay, but only admit to it if you have to. If you are lost or need help, then own up to being a tourist, i.e. jerk, and any New Yorker will gladly help you. But again, do not do this between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. Please, buy an I Love New York shirt. Please do not wear it in New York. Know that carrying a map and a camera is the same as carrying a sign that says my wallet is in my back left pocket and you can have it. In conclusion, I can't wait for you to come to my town. It's amazing, you're gonna love it. You got questions? Us New Yorkers are happy to help you out. You don't got questions?
Morning, everybody. I'm Norm Corey, and I can't wait to go to New York. It looks like a great time. I am the Sponsors of Committee co-chair along with Paul Danks, who I haven't seen since the dance floor last night at the Loop. If anyone's seen him, let me know. Well, I get the pleasure of asking our sponsors and recognizing our sponsors here today. And we'll go in order, and please stand if you're in the room. Gold sponsors, IBM and NAI Global. Anyone here? Thank you. Silver sponsor, Capita, Rabin, Panettone Europe, Arthur Cox, the Interiors Group, Strategic Coach. Anyone here? Stand up, please. Thank you. Our bronze sponsors, Avis & Young, Murphy Mulhall, Prologis, Finnegan Menton, Colliers, Cedar Hill, Texas, P3 Logistic Parks, Corfac, Newmark Grubb Knight, Frank, Grafton Gate, JLL, Hugo Cloisters, Hightower, and South Carolina Chamber of Commerce. Is anyone here? Please stand and be recognized. Our media sponsors, Property Week, Centes, Impact, Holistic, and Presented. Please stand and be recognized. Additional sponsors, Red Rock Developments, thanks for the bus ride, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, the SIOR Foundation, Axie Emo, Hickey & Associates, and Citus Capital. Please stand and be recognized. Now I'm going to introduce the next speaker. I'm going to have a little problem with his name. Wouter Stadmacher, please stand up and come to the stage. He's with Hickey & Associates. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. So, as your sponsor of this session, I've got about 3 minutes, I think, to give you a quick overview of Hickey & Associates, and then I'm going to get out of the way. So, and I think this hopefully works. So, Hickey & Associates is the largest global site selection, incentive advisory, and workforce solutions group and in the world, and I'll show you a little bit about where we are. So we're in about 25 countries globally, which means that we are well placed to service our clients, but also in terms of a bit of what I'm going to tell you today, hopefully your clients around the world as well. We've followed our clients to markets like India, Japan, Australia, China, so we're well placed around the world in Asia Pacific, Europe, and North America. And we're, as I said, a full service outfit. So we do in excess of 300 projects globally per year, and on the incentives front, we identify in excess of $2 billion per annum for our clients. And we're bringing that to Europe. Obviously being a North American-based company for many years, for 30 years, and we're expanding rapidly around the world. We're also leading in the field of labor analytics, and we bring big data analytics and the use of social media and predictive analysis to that, and I'd be very excited to talk to you about that if that's something that's of interest to your clients. At Ever the Opportunists, in a post-Brexit world, next week we'll be bringing out a report on the risks to the labor force in the EU. So if anybody's interested in that for your clients, please do come and say hello, and I'll tell you how you can get your hands on that. But I want to talk very quickly about partnership. In our 30-year history, we're very proud of our partnership, and we're proud to partner with these organizations here. We're proud that many of these organizations see the value and the quality of our data and use and license that data, particularly incentives, around the world on a global scale. But I'm here to talk to you about the partnership globally that we have with SIOR. So for about the last 2 years, we've been working on a referral fee basis, a scheme that works for SIOR members. It is, as I say, global, and effectively, if you can't see the graphic down the bottom there, it's fairly straightforward, fairly simple, and I'll leave you with this. We will do a fee share on the fees that we get on any referral from SIOR members. It's about 1/3 of the total fees that we will share, and the way that breaks down is 30% of that goes back to SIOR as an organization, and 70% goes to the referring member. So pretty straightforward. We're very excited, we've already raised in excess of $50,000 for SIOR alone, so obviously more for the members, and that's just in North America, and we're expanding this program rapidly, and excited to expand this in Europe. So I'm joined here by Jason, my CEO, and I'm here, although I'll be off in a couple of hours, but please do come and say hello, get our cards, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. It is my great pleasure this morning to welcome to the stage John Smart. John is IBM Analytics Program Director for the Internet of Things, Chief Strategist for the Internet of Things for Real Estate. We're in for a real treat this morning, as John will bring to life for us the concept of the Internet of Things. Now, some say that he's a true confidant of the world-famous Pepper, the emotional robot, whilst others, and certainly within IBM, say that he is the building whisperer. But we know that he is Smarty. And with that, I welcome to the stage John Smarty Smart.
Wow, what an introduction. Can you hear me? Okay, there we go. So what an act to follow with that Kermit little gig that we just saw there. As a visitor here to London and from Philadelphia, I want to try to avoid at all costs of being a jerk. so let's get down to this. So let me get my clicker here. In this subject, this is a subject, I have the fun job at IBM to work with great customers around the world to navigate through this world that we hear every day about what the world's getting smarter, the buildings are getting smarter, the world of Internet of Things is exploding in every line of business and every industry. So I get to be the gadget guy at IBM. I work with partners every day, I work with customers on business problems, and I want to use this opportunity to dispel the myth, right? The title is From Hype to Here, and share with you some great use cases that we're seeing in the world of IBM as we work with these clients that are having a real impact and business value for our customers. So one of the exciting things that we've seen, just the world in the last 3 years, some interesting statistics came about. You know, the world's largest retailer, Airbnb, owns no inventory or real estate. The largest retailer, Alibaba, no inventory. And lastly, one of my favorites is the largest taxi company in the world owns no vehicles with Uber. And all of these companies just came about in the last 3 to 5 years. And what's really made them powerful and capable is a lot of emerging technologies that have hit the world that we live in today. The mobile revolution, you know, most of us can't live without our phone. And we expect more and more to be able to do on our mobile device. This becomes our new mobile office. I'm a globe trotter for IBM. I do about 360,000 miles a year up in the air, flying the globe. And if I didn't have the mobile device, this is my mobile office. Uber wouldn't be where it is if it didn't have mobile. I stand on the corner, it knows where I'm at. I push a button and the car comes to me. What a brilliant idea. Social media, listening to all this structured data in social media allows people to analyze data in new ways. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Hyper-digitization, everything in the world's getting smart. And being able to take advantage of that intelligence is making our life better in many cases, and I'll talk some examples, but it's also letting people reinvent their businesses in some cases. And then last but not least is the analytics. All this world of IoT is a bunch of data, a lot of noise, but if you can't interpret that noise, what value does it bring to the business? So it's the analytics that we're going to talk about, and Paul mentioned Pepper. I'm going to introduce you to Pepper in a little bit, of what the world of IBM looks like in this new world. I love this diagram. I saw this from one of our marketing folks, is, you know, the buildings themselves. What we want to try to do with Internet of Things is bring the buildings alive in the real estate side. How can we listen to our buildings? Now, this isn't a new concept. The world of the building management systems, the Honeywells, the Snyders, the Johnson Controls, the Siemens, have been around for many, many years, providing automation inside the building to listen to the HVAC, the electrical, and so forth, and have a panel for technicians to see what's going on in the health of the building. What I talk about here is a game-changing change of how the buildings are coming alive. It's not just about the mechanical systems in the building, but the occupants in the building. And how do we engage the occupants in a new way? And how do we blend the occupants with the building so the building gets smarter over time at how to operate? And that's what we're going to talk about in this subject. So, does anybody think you're in IoT right now? Can I have a show of hands? Is anybody doing any IoT? No hands. You sound like my wife, and I'm going to tell you about her in a minute. Every one of us is part of the IoT equation, whether we like it or not, or know it or not. Because most of you, does anybody have a smart device on your body? Cell phones? All right, all the hands go up, right? That's considered an IoT device, right? Your phone is something that can be listened to, whether we like it or not. In some cases, privacy comes in. We don't want them to listen to, but that's one of the components of Internet of Things. In fact, this particular slide here just kind of picks the story, and we're seeing that the number of devices getting smart is just exponentially exploding. You know, from the mainframes in the 50s to, you know, just not that far ago, 10 billion devices of cell phones and computers that were smart. IDC has a projection right now. They just upped their projection that they said by 2020, which is not that far off, we're going to have 30 billion connected things in this world that are out there. Everybody's getting smart. In fact, yesterday I was with an economist, or an IoT economist from IBM, one of our researchers, and he made a statement to me that was pretty profound. He said, right now, today, there is more data coming from things that are sending IoT data out into the world than there's stars in the universe. And that's just today. Very much explosion. Now, when nobody raises their hands, when you're in the IoT equation, I bring that back to a little story about my family. So I'm going to be an empty nester in a couple years, or in a couple months. What am I saying? My baby just graduated. And my wife and I did the big thing at the downside. So we sold our house and moved into a smaller property, get ready for life without kids living with us. So I took the opportunity. I was just moving into the IoT world with IBM, and I totally instrumented my house. And my wife hears me, if I'm on a conference call, she hears me always talking about IoT. She says, it's not for me. I don't care about that subject. But my wife thinks it's really cool when she's somewhere not upstairs and she gets a text message from my washer and dryer when it's done. And I'm like, well, you're not in IoT, but your life's a little better. Now, my son, on the other hand, is 19, and he's the one going off to college. He's in denial about IoT. It's not for me, Dad. I'm not interested, da-da-da. Why he's not interested is I was on an airplane in Dubai when we downsized. I had a beautiful bar at my old house where I could lock up all my booze. So my new downsized house, I don't have the luxury of a bar. So my wife said, here's an antique piece of furniture. We could make that your bar. So I put all my booze in there in the basement and set it all up for my new house. Little did my son know, I instrumented that little piece of furniture. So I'm boarding a plane in Dubai airport, and I'm ready to take off, and I still have my phone on, and I get a text message, the bar is open. I check my calendar, and I know my wife's at book club, so the only other person living in my house is my son, and I send him a text, step away from the bar. Right? So my next one is going to do a little video camera, because now the kids get smart. I think I used to do this when I was young. Many of us have done it. Is you take the bottle of vodka, you empty it out, and then you fill it with water, right? So he's getting smart. He knows how I can open the door. He's going to get a text message, but he's real quick in doing it. So now I'm going to have video surveillance. So now a picture on my phone says, oh, there's the bottle going out. But at the end of the day, everybody's involved in IoT. So we're going to explore this journey. But what we focus on is creating systems of insight to drive business benefit and value. That's what IBM's focusing on with our customers. So it's about discovering fresh insights, capturing the time of data. This is an interesting one because there's so much data being generated, the velocity of the data disappears in the moment it's created in some cases. So if you think of a person shopping, you have a cell phone, and if the department store has sensors in the store, the moment you pass through the men's shoe department, data is generated about you, but if you quickly pass out, the data is of no value after I walk out of the department. So it's how do we capture that insight at the right time and then act on confidence from that data. So when we talk about Internet of Things, everything now can be instrumented. And there's thousands of sensors out there that can be applied to these buildings to make sense. From turning blinds, and we're seeing some great lead. One of my partners here in London, I was at the greenest building in the world with Siemens across town, where everything in that building is smart. The lighting, everything about it. It's a LEED Platinum and a BREEAM Platinum building, and it's totally efficient building. They've instrumented that building with all kinds of devices to make that building a living, breathing thing that can react to the weather, react to different environments, how many people are in the building, and run at peak performance. What I'd like to do is share with you the journey of IoT.
Today, we're planning to install around about 1,000 IPv6 sensors in this 11-story building. Now, typically, just the planning would take 2 or 3 weeks, but have literally got to get this finished this afternoon. Once the planning's completed, we've got to start installing these sensors. We're going to attempt to install 1,000 sensors in this building in 4 hours. We hope we're going to get it done in time.
We're here today to install 1,000 sensors. All are automatically discovered, automatically configured, and automatically set up with a security key. There's nothing pre-configured today.
You guys ready? Yeah! Let's go!
I think it's a very exciting project. We expect to learn a lot about ourselves in the building and about the building itself.
Buildings and assets have become more instrumented than ever before, and this is generating a vast amount of data. We at IBM are uniquely positioned to transform this raw data into business insights, allowing you to make better, smarter and faster decisions.
All the rooms are coloring by different temperature, and I can see how many of my colleagues are inside that particular room, but also if the temperature is affected by the temperature outside. We use this motion sensor. If we have a conference room with 12 seats, then we'll put 12 sensors in this conference room. And in this way, we can see how many people actually use this room.
Predictive analytics is a game changer, where businesses can in real time optimize their resources, their workforce, to make their entire operation more cost effective, more efficient. An automated work order can be raised to take action before a light bulb fails, before the air conditioning runs out of gas. The workplace of the future is driven by an enterprise asset, facility management, and workforce optimization solution.
Okay, we're done. You know what? We did it.
From now on, we know everything we need to know about this building. This is exciting.
So this is definitely a video I don't share with my partners in the BMS world. There's a new term in the industry that's called Uber-ized, right? And here's an example of a 10-story office building that under 4 hours, we have more data about that building. And this particular, the results of that building, they were able to reduce their energy by 33% in the first year, right? They have a better work environment for the people that work in the building. They can find conference rooms when they need them and available for the business. So in the world of IoT, this is real. It's happening all over the place, and it's a very exciting time that we live in today. So IoT applies in all different venues, whether you're in a home, an office, a stadium. Everybody is looking at ways to engage people in new ways. And in our lifetime, in our daily day, we go into multiple venues. So when we have these conversations, it's about, you know, I wake up in the morning, is my house, my coffee pot turns on and so forth. How do I make my living experience better? In the office, you just saw an example of an office being set up to save energy and be more engaging. Those same conversations are happening in every industry or venue type. In the stores, there's all kinds of activities going on. Tesco here in the UK and all these international customers and companies, retailers, are looking at how can they reduce food loss. I have a big box retailer, international retailer, that has a $1.2 billion a year food loss problem. Right? They're not putting the right food on the shelf, food's expiring, equipment goes down, and what they want to do is they want to focus on the shopper experience, make a very good shopping experience to sell more products, and they're going to do that by instrumenting their stores so they have better prediction models and being able to listen to the store in new ways to create what I refer to as a store wealth system or wellness system. So starting to put the sensors all over their capability. And of course, we want to do everything with this phone. So as I mentioned, the mobility is one of the explosions on this phone. Again, going back on my son, when one of the other things I have fun with him on is when my wife and I go out to dinner, he always says, "Dad, when are you and Mom going to be home?" We kind of hedge our bet because we know we don't want any party in the house. But I could be at the dinner table and open the garage door. So freak him out. But this phone is my new conduit to my life. My wife calls I'm too cold or so forth. Everything I do on this particular phone is available to me now to control my building in new ways. And the capability's out there, and we're really, really excited to make that happen. So when we talk to customers about the benefits that they're looking to derive out of Internet of Things, there's 4 or 5 main subjects that we discuss. One is what we call operational performance, right? So in the operational performance, it goes in all different categories, but I'll give you a couple examples. We have a group here in England, a restaurant organization, that, this is a funny one, they said, we have all these service contracts with these vendors, and we know these vendors are overcharging us. In fact, when we looked at their contracts, they had an extermination contract that they were paying £10,000 a month to have them track all their restaurants in the UK and make sure there's no rat or mouse problem. So they had folks running around checking the mouse traps. So sitting down with them, we started looking at IoT and what can we do to solve that problem. So they instrumented a little sensor that went on every mouse trap. And then what they did was they gave a little app for the vendor, and they called it Mouse Down. So now instead of having people tour all the locations to see if there's a mouse, we now are self-directing the people, and we've cut those contracts down, so now they're doing performance-based contracts as opposed to service contracts that are just generic. Going back to my Dubai airport example, we're doing better cleaning service contracts. So instead of having rounds of people looking at the restrooms on schedules, if a US Air, American Air, or British Air flight lands in Dubai and 20 ladies went in the ladies' room, let's get the cleaning staff out to freshen up that ladies' room and get the supplies ready. And if nobody was in the bathroom down in Terminal Z, which is about a mile away, why send a cleaning staff down there when they don't need to do it? We're working with clients on operational performance from the manufacturers, people like Whirlpool and Lexalox, are saying when I sell you out through our reseller channels a refrigerator or so forth, how can I listen to that asset in a new way for my engineers to build better products, but also to help service you as a customer that are using my washer or dryer or what have you. So the operational performance goes all over the place. Another area of focus is customer experience. So again, depends on the venue you're in. At the workplace, there's a lot of HR folks that are concerned with all these millennials coming into the workplace. I know Ginny Barametti, our CEO, is very, very interested in this particular use case herself. We have about 400,000 IBMers running around, we have about 1,900 buildings around the world. And the amount of millennials coming into our business is exponentially growing every month. These millennials expect a cool place to work. We are competing with the likes of Google and Apple and all the folks that these young millennials and smart kids are being hired into that are creating these compelling workspaces for these folks to come to work every day. When you look at the compelling workspace, it's all about the experience. How do we create these environments so that the people coming to work in the office building able to locate things when they need it, locate their team members, reserve things when they need it, and report things in the workplace and get updates. So Internet of Things here helps us by doing things like you saw a little bit about in the video. I'm doing everything from, providing the experience for an employee to find a room when they need it, but then let the building talk to that person. So if there's a conference room that was booked for 2 hours and there was a no-show, free up the reservation in the reservation system so that the rest of the business can see a room available, helping me find the things that are important to me. And of course, on the shopper, all kinds of stuff in retail. Industry transformation. It's interesting here as we started to stream data from Internet of Things, how many people started knocking on IBM's door saying, let's have a conversation. IBM did a partnership with the automotive industry and the airline industry to do smart airplanes and smart automobiles. Anyone that has a car, your car spits out, a car in the last 5 or 6 years spits out about 6,000 data points every minute, right? You don't see a lot of them, but it's the diagnostics in these cars are tremendous. And the automotive groups like Mercedes and Ford and Chrysler and so forth are saying, how can we listen to that data to drive better performance of our vehicles and be able to have a better engagement with you as a driver in your navigation system in the car, so the cars are getting smarter. Well, who knocked on our door after we made that announcement? The insurance industry. So the likes of like a State Farm were saying, we know the car spits out 6 pieces of data, but can we get 3 of those pieces of data? So we said, yeah, what kind of data are you interested in? Speed the driver was driving, how fast they were going around turns, and were the windshield wipers on, weather. So what they're thinking, the industry discussions we're having, is they're starting to look at new business models to say, can I price my insurance premiums based on driver safety and so forth, how safe this driver is by listening to those cars in new ways. So massive transformation happening with listening to data and changing my business model, right, to go to market with. Institutional expertise. This is where, when I introduce you to Pepper, I think you understand this one in a little bit more detail. But what we're trying to empower is for the folks that manage these workplaces, these stores, empower them with dashboards and views so they can know at all times what's going on in my environment. So if I'm a space planner in a building, I want to know how many people are booking the 20-person conference room and only having a meeting with 2 or 3 people. Because maybe I'm not delivering space to the business for the kind of work that they're looking for. Maybe I need to break up that big office and create more team rooms. That kind of data, empowering these guys with that expertise. And last but not least is the environmental leadership. So this is where we get into energy projects, the LEED and BREEAM projects around the world, and how can we listen to these buildings in new ways with a goal of reducing our energy spend and being more sustainable in the world that we live in today. So what I want to do now is introduce you to a concept of IoT, which we call Cognitive IoT. Ginny Rometty was the keynote speaker at the CES conference, the Consumer Electronics Show this year out in Las Vegas. And this was a quote that she talked about up on the stage where digital's not a destination, it's a foundation. So having this digital data. What differentiates us is the understanding of that data. So what we're introducing here is the future of IoT is what we call Cognitive IoT. So earlier this year, we did a reorganization, and we used to be called the Internet of Things Division. Today, we're called the Watson IoT Division at IBM. What we've started to look at is all this data out there is grown beyond our capability to understand that data. And what we need is a capability, what we call cognitive, to be able to listen and constantly learn and listen to that data to provide me with insights that may be valuable for my organization. When I talk about cognitive, what we're talking about is Or actually, let me just talk about, first and foremost, just to see in the audience, has anybody heard of Watson? We have a couple Watson folks. For those that maybe not raise your hand, Watson, his claim to fame was it's a cognitive capability that IBM built about 4 or 5 years ago, and we put it up against the Jeopardy champion. And it was the first time that a computer beat a human in Alex Trebek answering the questions, and Watson did really well on those. So he was able to listen to questions and interpret them and answer those. Back then, Watson had what we call one API, and that's question answer. Today, does anybody have an iPhone? Right, so on the iPhones, Siri, right? And then I'm not an Android guy, so Android has a similar one. That's what those systems do. They can listen to a question and answer. So where's the closest restaurant, or how do I get here? And it guides you. What we've added now is 35 new APIs in this cognitive world we look at to create a system that constantly infuses this intelligence into the physical world, but it's a system that can learn and constantly grow and learn with me. And I'm going to introduce Pepper in a second to you. So when we talk about it, there's 3 major components of the cognitive world that we live in. Self-learning. So when we talk about cognitive, this is not systems that are programmed. I've been in the software business for 30 years of my career, and when we wanted a system to do something, we had developers that had to program the system to do what we wanted to do. These are systems that are constantly learning. You have to teach the system what subject you want, and then that subject, it gets smarter and smarter because it's going to continue to research and learn that subject. Human interaction, you're going to see in a second here, this guy talking to Pepper, the ability for it to interpret our voice, listen to us in new ways like Siri does. You ask Siri a question, that communication back to the organization, and then reason with purpose. So let me introduce you to a very quick video from Ginny at CSI of what Pepper's all about.
こんにちは、ケントさん。元気ですか?
Japanese. Hi, Pepper.
Wow, there are a lot of people here.
Okay, so could you introduce yourself?
My name is Pepper. I'm a completely new species of social humanoid robot, designed by SoftBank Robotics.
Okay, so could you tell us how have you been?
It's been a big year for me. I'm working in all sorts of companies, like banks, retail stores, and hotels, to help customers have the best possible experience. I've even been adopted in homes in Japan.
Okay, so you've been very busy. What else?
Now that I'm using Watson, I am learning a lot. I can read up to 800 million pages a second, and can better understand humans' natural language. Sometimes, it's tricky for me to understand phrases that don't translate word for word. Throwing shade, for example, has nothing to do with the sun. Who would have thought?
Okay, very impressive.
Yay, it really is. See what I did? I was able to recognize your tone and understand that you're excited, so I responded enthusiastically.
Yes, that's very important point.
I want to help give customers the best possible experience. I'm also learning the language of various industries. To work in a bank, for example, I have to become an expert in banking systems. For instance, there are 3 main types of mortgages: fixed rate, adjustable rate, and interest-only mortgages.
Okay, so what should I consider for an interest-only mortgage?
Because your monthly payment would only repay the interest accruing on your mortgage. The only equity you would have on your home would be the amount you paid for a down payment.
That's helpful.
But wait, there's more. You would not build equity unless the market value of your home were to go up. If the market value of your home were to decline, then you could lose part or all of your down payment.
Oh, that sounds very serious.
I know. Bummer.
Okay, I know you have been working in the hospitality industry as well. So could you suggest where can I get a cappuccino in this Venetian?
Tintoretto offers cappuccino and espresso. Kent, you might also consider biscotti.
Okay, thank you, Pepper. I'd like to see what you will run next with Watson.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. No, okay.
So that's an example of a cognitive brain, right, working inside this robotics. Who you saw on the stage, that was Ginny Rometty at CES, our CEO, and next to him was the CEO of a company called SoftBank from Japan, and they're the manufacturers of Pepper. So they created the first robotics. It's about to go big time. I'm afraid for those parents that have little kids, Pepper has 2 little children now. They're about 1.5 feet high. And we thought that hoverboard was big this holiday season last. As it comes into the UK markets and around the world, this is going to be one of the hottest holiday presents for these children. In the world of cognitive, this is a world that it really requires a learning to the system. So IBM is investing in many different industries with cognitive. How can we help bring cognitive to these businesses and working with clients around the world, applying this to real world stuff. We brought in 1,800 doctors recently, about a year ago, to have Watson become an ally to the doctor. But Watson doesn't know anything about medicine. You heard something like 800 billion words of reading every second or every minute. Incredible way to learn. So when you go into the world of Watson, you start with a subject like banking, and you have to teach Watson everything about banking. But that also includes not just programming it about banking, but understanding banking, understanding economic trends that affect banking, understanding new people to watch, things to read, and then Watson starts learning each step of the way. A good example of an offshoot of that, I mentioned the health work that we're doing. In the health team, we have what we call Watson Health, and they're an Astor Place in New York City. Beautiful, really cool building in New York. One of our people on the Watson Health team was a master chef in Paris in his former life, and he was excited about cognitive. He came to work for our team. He teaches a cooking school at NYU in the evenings 2 nights a week. So in his part-time, he said, I'm going to prove this out to see can it really learn. So he said, I'm going to start at night teaching Watson how to cook. So he said, when the freshmen come in, I talk about chemistry, and chemicals make ingredients, and ingredients make really good dishes. So he started at the grassroots and started teaching him cooking. Well, his buddy last year, the master chef, the guy that won the master chef last year, contacted him in New York and said, can I come meet Watson? And the two of them started collaborating, teaching him different recipes and styles and all kinds of things. So they had, for kicks and giggles, they said, let's see if Watson can come up with a menu. So they bought a food truck. They painted it Watson on Chef Watson on the truck, and they put it into New York City. New York City, it was the highest social media post that weekend by 2-fold of any other subject in Manhattan. The lines went around the block for several days of the cook and the food that Watson came up with in the truck. So who came knocking on our door? The Cooking Channel. And they said, we heard about Watson. Can we come visit you, IBM? So in preparation for the Cooking Channel, we taught Watson about the Cooking Channel. We said, here's a company that's been around for 50 years. Watson in his brain, and it took about 1 hour, read everything that the Cooking Channel ever published in the world, every recipe, every magazine, and so forth. So when the CEO came in, it was recommending and talking about trends and different things about their writing and what kind of recipes. Very, very intelligent. So in partnership with the Cooking Channel, we officially released what we call Watson Chef. And if you have any cookers out there, it's a free service for your iPhone or iPad. If you Google Cooking Chef, you sign up, it's no charge. My wife now loves it. We have an iPad in our kitchen. It knows my eating behavior. It recommends recipes that we like. It can do all kinds of stuff. I can say I have these 2 vegetables or two different ingredients. What can I make, Watson? And it comes up with a recipe. So we're seeing this apply to real world things. Now what's interesting in the world that we're living in is that what Watson does for us in cognitive is it listens to beyond structured data, which we've all been used to seeing reports about our leases, reports about our energy spend, what's the valuation of my building. That's what we call structured data. What Watson's capable of doing now is listening to all that unstructured data. The world today, 88% of the data in the world goes unused. We can't listen to it. We can all try to keep up with read the newspaper every morning, go on the websites, I have my blogs I keep it out, but I can't keep track of everything. So what we're doing is we're having this cognitive world help me by being my right-hand person that can help with the information I care about and listen to it so we can now unlock that restful data. So I'm going to go over it in summary here, understanding. You know, one of the things that you saw here with the Watson example or with Pepper, able to understand language, reason, right? Make reasonable decisions, and then constantly learning. And that's the subject of Cognitive IoT that Ginny presented at CES. What we've created here is what we call an open platform for customers to start really taking advantage of this cognitive capability. I'll talk about some of the uses of these. These are just one of the 35. You know, the Jeopardy champion was question and answer. Or you saw on the stage, he was asking questions and Pepper was reacting. Personality insights. Customers are now starting to look at this inside the stores. Can I have a capability in the store so when my shoppers come in the store, I know the personality of all these people in the store? One of my partners I'll share with you is a company out of Sweden. This is what I call the magic hockey puck. This hockey puck is magic. This hockey puck, for privacy rules, it does everything anonymously. It's going to track everybody here in the room without tracking us as individuals. Very, very important for security. This hockey puck is using personality insights and visual recognition and such as a partner of ours that said on this puck, I could put this on the ceiling right now, and the system's going to report how many of us are in the room right now. Count individuals. How many people are sitting in the room right this very minute. With the visual recognition, it's also going to say how many men versus women are here in the room, how many people are wearing glasses and not. And it can also, with personality insights, start to say, are we confused? Are we happy? Are we angry? And this insight, when we put it in the hands of an iPhone for a store manager, to know when we have a retailer here in the UK that they were opening their shops at 8 in the morning, but as they started looking at the patterns of their shoppers coming in the store, they realized that they were wasting time open at 8. They really should open around 9:30 when the shoppers really show up. They changed associates around because the senior shoppers were coming in early. The millennials are coming in the afternoon, so they mixed up their associates to have a better experience for those shoppers. And it was all using this magic puck, providing insights to that data for our customers. A couple other things in here, like we're using visual recognition for operational efficiencies. I have a plant in Spain, manufacturer, that they were using maintenance procedures and planned maintenance to maintain the equipment on the factory floor. They had a critical asset on the production line that failed. They searched all their maintenance history. They talked to the engineers. They could not figure out why this asset was failing. It wasn't until Watson, who was looking through the data with them, looked at all the video cameras on the factory floor and started analyzing behavior and started to see there was a forklift that actually that night before was backing up and touched that asset ever so slightly and took that unit just offline a little bit, and that messed up the whole line. So it was having the reasoning and have Watson go back to the engineers to say, this is your root cause, to bring that production line back up very quickly. Some fun ones in here that we have, things like text-to-speech and speech-to-text. In the request process, if you're a landlord and you have tenants out there, or you're a corporation that have a lot of employees in the building, you want your employees to be able to easily put in a request when they need it. I'm too hot, I'm too cold, bathroom leak, I need copy paper in the copier room. We're starting to see customers use these APIs to automate the process. So now you just speak and the system understands your speech, whether it's Spanish or German or French or whatever, and interpret that language to create actions on the back end, like putting in a service request. There's a leak in the bathroom, Watson. In the ladies' room, it knows that there's a bathroom problem, where I am on the floor, and then makes that other exception. Trade-off analysis. We're starting to use it all throughout IBM, just having fun. This can look at a text message and look at trade-offs. We're using this in real estate. I'm working with real estate, big investment firms and such, that are running cognitive through their analysis of their portfolio to look at trade-offs based on assumptions and other things that we have the system learn from. Now, we're not alone. In the world of IoT, this world that we live in today is all about an ecosystem at IBM. Companies are popping up all over the world creating some incredible products that we all are taking advantage of in different parts of our life, and you'll see more and more show up through the innovations that are happening in this collaborative world that we live in today. Let me show you a little example of that. Just 2 days ago, I took this from the internet. There was a press release in the Washington newspaper, and I think it was on the Today Show as well. I think the Today Show had a post on it. This company is out of the US. They're out of the Maryland area. They introduced the first cognitive self-learning vehicle, self-driving vehicle. These vehicles are now in the National Harbor down in Baltimore, Maryland. So these are people movers that are in the city that now, instead of just having a self-driving car, it's a cognitive car. It can look at weather patterns, traffic patterns. It can communicate to the folks as they walk in the store. And I encourage you to take a look at the video, search on Ollie. When you see the video, you'll start to see the impact that cognitive has when I introduce it to business outcomes, right, in understanding this area. And this was done by one of our partners. So the last couple slides, I know we're running up on the lunchtime. I want to take you through a couple use cases of some other examples of how customers are taking advantage of this IoT, specifically inside of real estate, right, the things that I'm working on. When we talk to our customers, there's two major categories of use cases that we work on. What we call asset-centric use cases and people-centric use cases. Asset-centric is listening to the chiller, running analytics on the chiller and operating it better. People-centric is listening to the phones in our pocket, or I got a Fitbit on my wrist, or a smartwatch. And how can I use that and interact with other things in the building to make a better experience for that person? The beauty is when you start combining these two areas. So I'm working with customers that are resetting their buildings to do things like, if there's no presence on the floor, why are all the copiers and lights still turned on? Right? When we look at how we can save energy and run efficient buildings, the HVAC systems have been around forever with programmable thermostats. Run it at this temperature and turn them on and off at this time. The world of IoT changes that game. So now we're able to react. And it won't be long off in the future. In the US market, we're working with our landlord for the US government is the GSA, General Services Administration. They have about close to 400 million square feet of space. And they just opened a facility down in Washington where everybody in the building can set their own climate and air and lighting right at their desk. Right? So these days of hot, cold, and the person next to me is too hot and I'm too cold, we want to personalize it for everybody in the building. The traditional asset models, driving efficiency in listening to the assets themselves. Why clean the bathroom if nobody's been in the bathroom? Or go back to the bathroom because a lot of people were in the bathroom. Or in this case, this is a cappuccino, a coffee customer, listening to those machines to try to drive optimization of that asset with a goal of customer satisfaction. If I walk into this coffee shop and they say the cappuccino machine's out, as a customer, I'm not going to be happy because I can't get my cappuccino. For them, on the business side, it's important. If that cappuccino goes out, it's $1,000 an hour of lost revenue. So their CEO and their folks are saying, how can we listen to our stores around the world and optimize and have Watson start correlating all the different data? Is it environmentally, if the humidity in the store, outside temperature's X, does it have an effect on our equipment? And listen to all these streams of data with a goal of minimizing disruption of equipment, maximizing revenue, and increasing customer satisfaction in the front end when they walk through the door. The retailers, this is the one I'm really afraid of with my wife. I always pick on my wife. She laughs on this. But when she's looking at the Christian Louboutins or the Louis Vuitton bags, and she's standing in that area of the store long, she's going to think it's really cool that she got a 30% discount, right? So these retailers are saying, how can we listen to people in the shopping store and engage them better? We did a project with a big clothing retailer in the United States. They have about 800 stores throughout the US. And they came to us about September of last year, and we started with what we call Give Us a Store. We started with one of their stores down in Atlanta, Georgia. And they said, we want to put sensors all throughout the store, and working with the store manager, they wanted to know where presents were. Where are the shoppers? Did they go left or right? Where do I put the products and the displays? Now, all that had to be done anonymously, because for privacy rules, you can't track us unless we say that you can track us. So the first stage was, let's anonymously track where the shoppers are. And that was valuable for the store manager because they could see they have 35 people in the men's shoe department. Let's get an associate out to make sure we can help them to drive more sales. The real magic is when we all say, you can track me. So what did they do? They created what we call gamification. Gamification is creating that mobile experience and enticing you to want to play. Does anybody use Uber in the room? Right? You opted in and said, I'll let you track me, right? Uber wouldn't work if I'm not standing here, it knows where I'm at, and the car comes to me. Anybody use Open Table? Right? Open Table. I say, I want you to track me, because if I'm here, don't show me restaurants in Philly, show it to me in London, right? So that's the world of opt-in. So in the retail space, this particular retail was running commercials and on the Today Show and newspaper ads in the Wall Street Journal promoting Black Friday. And they said if you sign up for the game to play on Black Friday, opted in, you need to have the M.com app, then we're going to give away $1 million on Black Friday and lots of $10,000 shopping sprees. So in a 2-week period, they had 600,000 shoppers in the US sign up for that game. So now they can run analytics on my wife as she's walking in the store, knowing what was she looking at the website, what is her previous shopping behavior. So when she's in the store, coupons are showing up that are relevant to her. Contextual experience for my wife. But she had to opt in to make this happen. This is a fun one that we're seeing all over the world is when the vendor exits, capture time. I have a telecommunication customer in the US that know their vendors are going into their data centers and charging them way many hours than they actually were there, but they have no way to substantiate that. So we solved it with IoT. Same with our retailers. So what we're doing in this use case is on the back-end work order system, typical service management, the store manager calls in, there's a problem, they call the help desk. Help desk creates the work order, figures out the shop or the vendor that does the work, sends it out. Vendor shows up to the store, fixes the work, calls back to the call center and says, I'm done, work closed. The problem is 2 weeks later is when the invoice shows up to accounts payable. And the invoice says, I'm charging you 4 hours of labor. So what we're doing in this use case is we're putting a very teeny sensor inside the room, in the building, and we're going to track when the vendor walks in and then track their entrance time, their exit time, and their dwell time. And we work with you on business rules. If the guy goes out to take a smoke, do we count that time? Did they go out for lunch? Do we count that time? And then what we do is we correlate all that time and we post it back to the back-end work order system against the job. So when the invoice comes in, we do two-way matching. This is what you're billing me for labor, and this is what the system is telling me that you're actually in my location, right? This one alone for one of my retailers is about a $9 to $10 million a year savings, right? Easy, easy use case to save money and drive efficiencies in this operation. This one's primarily in consumer products and retail. There's lots of use cases, again, around customer satisfaction. So there's all kinds of sensors that are being put in. Here at Tesco, one of your big grocers, for the US folks, the big grocer here in the UK, there was an article not long ago in the National Retailers Conference where they're starting to do like the Pepper, the robotics. They have a robot that will walk the aisle and look at all the products to make sure that they're all stocked at optimal levels, right? They're sending people around. There's sensors that are put on the shelves. RFID is still alive and well, but RFID is getting smarter and smarter. There was an announcement by L'Oreal, the manufacturer that makes makeup for women. L'Oreal announced that every product now that comes out of their manufacturing plant will have IoT built into it. It's going to tell my wife when her lipstick's about to be done and push a notice to her phone, and she pushes a button and then comes to her front door, right? That's what they want to get to. So the inventory, if I can understand this stock, retailers, consumer products, everybody in the world of tracking things, the things are getting smarter, so I can have better visibility of these things to drive sales or valuation of my stock. So at the end of the day, it's always about the customer experience in many cases of IoT, right? In this case, the one I talked about, if the equipment fails, we have a negative customer experience, and we could have a tarnished brand, right? So as we start to look to instrument the world, these conversations with customers and the projects we're doing usually start from the outside in instead of inside out. Focus on the persona that's coming into my venue, whether it's an office building, an airport, and so forth, and how can we engage them every step of the way. I'm staying at a Hilton here in town, and I think, I didn't turn the knob. I was doing emails, and I was on their main commercial page, and I heard over and over again, Hilton brands. They want to touch our life from the time we make a reservation and beyond, all the way to our experience in the hotel room. We're starting to see it. I have an app called Hilton.com app. I travel the world. I can see my rooms. I can pick what room I want from my phone before I go to Tokyo. The next stage is Pepper's in the front lobby as the concierge. So the concierge can make recommendations of restaurants, continue to listen to social media, figure out what the hot products are and the dishes, media events, and communicate to me in a new way. But now they're talking about things like when I walk to the property, should it not know I'm there, and automatically adjust the temperature of my room to my liking, put the lights to my liking, put the TV station, I'm an ESPN guy, so put the TV station to ESPN, customize the menu based on my likes, so I have that seamless experience when I show up to the venue. That's what folks are focusing on in this world. So in summary, IoT is everywhere and happening around the world as we see. What we're focusing on is all of these use cases, and what we're trying to build is an ecosystem, and we have built an ecosystem where we want to try to be able to innovate all of these use cases for our clients. We have what we call the Watson IoT platform, and this is your building. And then being able to stream the data from all of these makers of things so that you can realize the data. So if you saw some of the examples I gave, people sensing, the camera, one ecosystem, that may be looking down at sensing things, turning off a light bulb when nobody's in the room, or powering down the copier. So what we're doing is pulling all these groups together so that we could realize the value of Internet of Things through the ecosystem of these great devices out there. I wanted to just share with you this particular application as we talk about the app is everything. Here's an example of an app where we blended, it's really hard to read here though, but hard to read, but from the standpoint I'll kind of navigate you through here. This is an app that's used by many of the store managers in our customers. It's called the Store Advisory app. Right? So using IoT, some things that are in here is things like understanding the weather, right? Because weather affects my store. I may need to bring more associates in, send people home. Shoppers are going to change. Like yesterday, there's probably not a lot of people shopping on those heavy rains. It's using things like cognitive. One of the things that we did in Watson was we said to Watson, for this retailer, can you understand what affects sales? So it learned the history of the retailer, what drives people to buy in their store. But then we said, Watson, can you read the newspaper around the world of every major market where this retailer's in? And then provide insights to the store manager that may be relevant. So this particular store is in Raleigh, North Carolina, or this screenshot was in Austin, Texas. The store manager, this is a big concert called South by Southwest down in Austin, Texas. The store manager may be too busy. They didn't follow the news. They're coming in to operate their store, but Watson's doing all that work for the store manager and then pushing things relevant to him or her that may be valuable to help me manage my store more efficiently and improve the experience of my shoppers. So in summary here, don't underestimate the level of innovation occurring around IoT. This was a quote from Larry Walsh. He was at one of our conferences from Kone, the elevator folks. We have a challenge for all of you in the room and what we call to action We call this give us a store, give us a floor. So with our customers, what we're seeing is IoT is a journey, not a destination. Right? We have an opportunity to work with you on the partner side to say, how can we drive value into your business with cognitive and IoT to drive real business outcome? So this is a program that we put out about 6 months ago that allows us to rapidly ideate through these. And our customers will throw a lot of use cases. We're seeing these innovation centers happening around the world where people like Target has a big innovation store down in San Francisco where they are throwing hundreds of IoT use cases into that store. If only a handful stick to drive value, that is tens of millions of dollars of business to Target, right? So in this world of IoT, explore, learn, sign up, look for Watson Chef for your cookers. Another one I'll tell you for cognitive, if we have any wine lovers, I met a woman at a conference a couple months ago that started applying cognitive. She developed a mobile app called Wine for Me that put Watson's brain inside this app that starts recommending bottles of wine to me. If I'm a novice, it can start recommending by listening to the wine experts and social media and listen to the wine magazines and recommend that bottle based on my price range. But it also then starts learning about me. A free app, again, Wine for Me and Watson Chef. Explore those, and you'll start to realize the value of cognitive in the world that you live in today. So I want to say thank you. We have maybe a few minutes. Before I leave the stage, is there any questions?
You talked about a lot of customer experience, personal experience type things. If I understand correctly, Watson has also been used to do some other interesting things, among them effectively potentially replacing, for example, paralegals in their research. And if I remember the numbers correctly, besides doing it much faster and without extra pizza, the Watson was getting something like a 90% accuracy on legal research versus a 70% industry-wide accuracy from paralegals. Can you talk about that kind of impact?
Absolutely. We're seeing cognitive, well, we call it Watson, but it's cognitive learning being applied in all different industry segments. So I talked about Watson Health. It's not to replace the doctor, but give them the insight. So when they're with a patient on their iPhone or iPad and they're talking to you, they may be based on their knowledge, tribal knowledge and their experience. A 30-year doctor may know how to talk to you and subscribe. But now, he misses a certain procedure that may have been posted out of Asia or something that's relevant to his business. If he didn't read that post, he's not in the know. So it's making him more valuable. We're doing it for the legal industry. We were able to read every legal text that was ever printed since the year whatever, back when it was Stone Age, before it was digitized or written. And it was able to read that in over a month's time. It read the entire legal world. So now that lawyer that's in the courtroom, Watson's able to interpret the court case and look at other similar cases and bring insights to that lawyer. We just made an announcement that I'm really proud of to be an IBMer. IBM just partnered with Sesame Street and the educational markets because we feel that our new generation of children, we can apply cognitive in their learning and enter a world where the teacher that has 20 kids in the classroom isn't teaching a generic class, that the content and what we're delivering to these students is personalized based on the personality and the capability of that student. And we're already seeing toys with the Tyco and the different toy manufacturers starting to come out with toys that are bringing cognitive learning into those toy experiences. So all great question. We're seeing it all over. We're seeing it in call centers, huge call center operations, where they're saying the average time to train a call center operator is 6 months, and they don't all stay. It's a very high turn workforce. And now they're saying, can we bring Watson in the forefront to give that call center agent day one information at their fingertips so they're the same expert as the guy that's been in the call center for 10 years, right? That's where we're starting to transform. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Smarty. Round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, I did promise yesterday to give Norm's wife a bottle of, it's not even champagne, but it's even better. It's the English sparkling wine, Norm, so thank you. Trust you to give that to Tara. And I've also got a little box of chocolates from Switzerland. I'm not affected by Brexit because I'm Swiss, and Switzerland's already surrounded by the European Union. So there's a few chocolates all the way from... thank you. Thank you very, very much, Leslie. We couldn't have done it without you. I know Renata wants to say something, but you'll pull me out. Okay. Just very quickly. So this afternoon, leaving in 15 minutes, there are 2 tours, one to London Gateway. Andrew Smith, who is here, is leading that tour. There'll be a minibus outside. It's a drive, unfortunately, for it's not in the centre of London. It's London Gateway, the port. So Andrew will be outside with the minibus, leaving in 20 minutes. And Piers Lee, where's Piers? Stand up, please. Piers is taking the tour to King's Cross. He'll be in the other minibus. So outside in 20 minutes. That gives you 20 minutes to make your box lunches or packed lunches if you're going on those 2 tours. And for the others, lunch is going to be served in the room behind us. Again, Cities Capital have kindly sponsored the 2 lunches. This evening at 5 o'clock, it's the Independent Brokers Group reception. So if you would like to go to that, if you're an independent broker, I think there are a few more spaces left. It's at the Punch Bowl, which is about 5 minutes walk from here. You can Google it to find the map and the address and that, okay? Thank you very, very much for coming. Tonight I'm going to see Henry V in the open-air park. There might be some tickets left, I don't know. If not, I'll see you perhaps in Scotland over the next few days. And if not, in New York with Gabriel in October. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay. So we know all here that this conference wouldn't be possible without Matthew.
And the team.
He spent hours, days, and I don't know how much time committed to this conference. I would like to thank him very much. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Tell what's inside. Tell what is inside, and I will show it.
So we've got some fine wine for Matthew and a signed photo of us all a couple of days ago.